You're okay, ma'am. You're safe now. Can you look at me?
They're still out there.
We'll take care of it. Right now, we just need to get you warm.
Dispatch, victim located. We're heading back to the vehicle.
Easy does it. Lean on me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Creme de la Cringe.
Hi, everyone.
Tonight we have a murder that took place in the 1800s, 1870s? Yeah. So I think in the 1870s. It's another old case. I love these old cases.
I love old cases. I just love them.
They're hard to find, but if you dig, you can find them. And most of the cases that we deal with, I have never been told, probably ever. So this one is regarding a gentleman named Edward Styles Stokes. And I love that name. It sounds movie.
Edward Style. I like Style.
Edward Styles Stokes. He was born April 27th, 1841. And he was educated in Philadelphia and later in New York. And then he went into business. And as a junior, like in a junior position with a guy, and then later in partnership with a man named Jinx, another great name, manufacturing and selling cheese. So he was an up and coming business guy. He did a lot of stuff, and he was a happening dude. In 1862, he married a woman named Maria Southwick. She was the daughter of John Southwick, which was a really wealthy furniture manufacturer of New York. And I actually looked it up and found some of their furniture online. Pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So in 1865, he was operating an oil refinery in Brooklyn at Hunters Point. And then he sought funding and acquired investors, one of which was a silent partner named James Fisk, who operated the Erie Railroad. And he had a secret arrangement with Stokes to discount freight charges for the refinery. So it's actually, a lot of business people do that, right? So it's a barter system. Like you invest in this and I can get, and then I'll give you discount freight and back and forth.
And that's the way, I don't know. I like it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I truly do.
Yeah. So Stokes was described as a man with a sporting character. So that seems to me like he was probably kind of jovial, and in the bar he was loud, and he was, you know what I mean? He was kind of a boisterous guy. And through Fisk, he was introduced to a woman who was described by the good women in town as wretched, and her name was Josephine Mansfield. Yes.
I love the name Josephine. And I know Mansfields. Like one of my dad's really good friends of Mansfield.
Really? Well, it's funny because, she was absolutely beautiful. This Josephine was beautiful. And
that's why she was wretched.
She was wretched because men fell at her feet. You know, women are catty. They're always catty.
So catty.
Oh, God. Instead of going, girls got it going on, they've got to put her down, you know?
Yep. That's how it goes.
Yep. So Mr. Stokes was really handsome, and he was described as actually beautiful. He was that gorgeous. And here's Josephine, who's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And she was used to having all of the men fall over her, but she turned her sights on Stokes as soon as she met him. Like, boink, that, you know? And
hey, like, you're pretty, I'm pretty. We can make pretty babies.
Yeah. He's already married, but apparently Mrs. Stokes couldn't match her charm. Josephine was the catch. So the problem was the business partner, Mr. Fisk, that introduced Stokes to Josephine, wanted Josephine all to himself. So there was a problem. And he couldn't compete against the good looks and the charm of Stokes. And he kind of began a feud with both Josephine and Stokes. Probably not a great idea, but he did. James Fisk was described as a man who openly violated his marital vows and brazenly consorted with harlots and known criminals, a man who was continually at war with the peace of society and whose living example was a blot and stain upon pure morality. That was a quote in the newspaper. Oh my God.
That's awesome, though. Like, that's truly awesome.
Isn't that awesome? But who's throwing stones? They're all married people and they're all consorting with other people. So, I mean, come on. So during this feud, Fisk had Stokes arrested. Okay. Wild. So what Fisk did was he started a lawsuit against Stokes, which grew out of an oil manufacturing business partnership in Greenpoint, that one. So I don't know how they ended up, because that's a civil lawsuit. So I don't know how he ended up having Stokes arrested, but he did. But obviously Stokes was out like immediately. He was arrested and then released. And then Josephine was mad that her lover was arrested. So then she turned around and sued Fisk to recover her money, because she invested a bunch of money with these guys too. She alleged Fisk held money for her in a fiduciary capacity. So apparently he was in control of her money, basically.
Okay.
Maybe she had a spending problem and he said, I'll put you on an allowance. I'll manage your money. I'll do some investments, blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, give me my money. And he wouldn't give it to her. And so she sued him. So Fisk published 2 affidavits of 2 of Josephine's servants stating they heard Josephine and her cousin plan a blackmailing campaign against Fisk. Then Josephine, because of that, she sues Fisk for libel. This was heard December 1871 in Yorkville. Both Stokes and Josephine were indicted by a grand jury for blackmailing Fisk. So this is bad blood. This is turned into
my
a deal.
lordy. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Mrs. Stokes is still hanging around. At this point, I would have been, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep your love triangle to yourself. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm taking my girl and I'm going. We're out. We're done. I'm going to find
Yep.
another husband. But anyway, so it was after this indictment that Stokes was in a carriage and he's passing by a hotel and he's looking up at a window that some said were Fisk's rooms. And I realized when I've been looking at all of these old articles that a lot of people actually just lived in hotels. They rented rooms. Like certain floors would be room by the night for travelers, and other rooms were like 2 or 3 rooms that somebody would rent, and that was their living space. A lot of people lived in hotels.
I wonder why.
Maybe lack of housing. It's convenient because there's usually a restaurant there, or it's right in town center. But when I just researched, I've been home a couple of days, not feeling good. And I researched one yesterday and got it done for us. And again, they lived in a hotel. I was like, that's so wild. Yeah, like a lot of people lived in hotels. But anyway,
That's crazy.
I think there would be, I know people that actually live on cruise ships.
I mean, I could see that.
There's
'Cause then you
people
could
that
go
are, like,
anywhere.
elderly, particularly elderly single women will live on a cruise ship. Now, this is crazy. You all think I'm crazy, but this is true. And I've looked this up because I thought, maybe I should sell my farm and go live on a cruise ship. Because they go to great ports of call. They become really friendly with the staff. They end up living on the cruise ship and they have everything catered to them. And in some places, it's cheaper to
not a bad idea
than it is to make a house payment or.
That is no lie.
See?
Like, especially where we're at now. It is
I know.
so insane. It's
I
just
know.
getting nuts.
So some
The
cruise
cost
ships
alone.
actually have rooms dedicated for people who are now permanent guests.
Residents. They're just
They
like hanging
resident.
out.
Yes. So, and you've got entertainment, you've got all the lounges and the bars, and you got all the
You got
ports
it
of
all.
call, you know? It'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool. I think I'd get tired of it real quick, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I would.
So let's get back to the story. Stokes is going by this hotel, and some people who witnessed everything that went down said that he's kind of looking up at whatever floor Fisk rented. He rented a part of, like maybe the 3rd floor. So he's looking up at the rooms, and his carriage stopped, So Josephine's house was just past the hotel. So he stops at Josephine's house, but he didn't go in. So people saw this, him get out of the carriage in front of Josephine's house, the harlot's house. Okay. So her.
Oh, you know, everyone was watching that house.
Yes, everybody's watching that house. All the good women, you know, who are having the vapors.
Right.
Anyway, meanwhile, Fisk, who was actually in the military, and he was wearing his military coat, his uniform, stepped into his carriage and drove away from in front of the hotel. Okay. So this is the Grand Hotel. And so everybody knows the Grand Hotel. It's been there forever. And Stokes then enters the hotel, and he's kind of seen loitering around the hotel in the corridors. And he was wearing, this is cool. I had to look it up. It's called a white frieze overcoat and driving goggles. Oh my God. How cool is that? It's a white long coat, like a duster that cowboys wore, like they wear today. It's kind of split up the back so you could sit aside on a horse, but it's white and it's a driving coat with his driving goggles. So he must have looked pretty dapper.
You know what that reminds me of? Of like, oh, what was it? Not the one Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that Johnny Depp did, where he's got the big old glasses and the like. I don't know why that's what I thought of.
Yep. I only just saw that not too long ago at someone's house. I can't believe I was.
Really?
I never saw it. Yeah. Okay. So at 3:35 p.m., James Fisk's carriage pulls up outside of the hotel. He gets out. He steps across the sidewalk, and there's a private entrance to the hotel. So if you rent rooms, like if you live in the hotel, you have your own entrance. If you're a guest, you have the big entrance. So residents had their own entrance. The private or ladies' entrance of the hotel is next to it, and it has an outer door and an inner door, okay, for weather. And between those two doors is a doorman who sits in a chair to greet people and open doors for them, and his name is John Redmond, and he's the porter, okay? And so from the inner door, there's this flight of stairs that goes up a really long corridor, which there are ladies' parlors, because back then you didn't mingle, you know? The men had a parlor in their cigar room, the women had their parlors. And Fisk asked the porter if Mrs. Morse, a lady who resided in the hotel, was in. So he goes into the private entrance, but it's the ladies' entrance. And he asks the porter, you know, is Mrs. Morse in? The porter tells him no. And then Fisk asks if her daughter was in. He was told yes. So he starts going up the stairs to see Mrs. Morse's daughter. Who knows if he was a playa with them or if this was just business? I don't know. But he goes up to the stairs, and he reaches the landing, and the porter explained Fisk saw Stokes standing at the head of the stairs in that corner or on the landing. Okay, so now the two guys now Stokes had just been arraigned by all of his by this blackmail stuff, and he's pissed. He's mad, and he wants to get even. So the porter, who then testifies to all of this, says Stokes had his right arm resting on the side rail of the stairway, and there was a pistol in his hand. And he seemed to be taking deliberate aim. And before Fisk could retreat down the stairs from the landing, because he gets up the landing, then sees Stokes, he's like, oh, crap. Before he can turn around and leave, Stokes shoots him. And the bullet entered Fisk's abdomen, and he fell. He got to his feet, and again, Stokes shoots him a second time. That bullet shattered his left arm. He staggered and half fell to an inner door. And this gentleman, I guess the porter ran up the stairs, which I wouldn't be doing. If somebody's shooting us, I'm not running up. But he runs up to Fisk, and he starts supporting his weight because he can't get to his feet. He's been shot twice. Stokes immediately runs through the corridor to a barber shop and was about to escape at the rear entrance when the alarm was raised throughout the hotel, and he was seized by employees at the hotel, and the police come and he's handed over. The pistol, a Colt revolver, which who doesn't love Colt revolvers? They're like,
right.
They're just, that's what made the Wild West, right?
Yes.
it was carrying a very heavy bullet was also found in his pocket. So he had 2 bullets missing out of the chamber, plus he had extra ammo in his pocket. And he was confronted and identified by Fisk, who's still alive at this point, but barely. And he said, yes, he shot me. And then Fisk was moved to a room and he died on a few days later. Okay. As the case was being investigated, Superintendent Matzel, police superintendent, was asked by the DA to arrest a woman named Mrs. Minnie Benton. And it was alleged that she had witnessed the murder of James Fisk, but it was unclear what they charged her with. Like, why would she be arrested? She was just a witness. She was ordered to appear at the trial of Stokes and told that she had a $5,000 bail, but she couldn't pay it, so she was escorted to jail. It's weird. I don't know if they thought maybe she was in cahoots with Stokes. I don't know if she signaled him. Like when somebody saw her signal Stokes and when this came in, I don't know.
Maybe.
Let me give you some background on old Mrs. Benton here.
Oh, Lordy.
Her name was Minnie White. And I love the name Minnie. Like this whole story is full of great names. Minnie. I'm going to have to name an animal that because I love that name. So Minnie White, she was born in Lexington, Kentucky. I lived there for a while, 1835. And she moved to New Orleans as a young woman and married an Army general named Benton, who was said to have lived the good life in New Orleans. But General Benton died unexpectedly 3 months after their marriage. I'm like, I wonder if she poisoned him. Isn't that awful?
I'm like, or is this like another Black Widow story?
I know. I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to know more about Winnie because she seems really interesting. Then
I'm like, we're gonna have to find more information on Minnie.
I know. She moved to New York City and in 1871 she became acquainted with both Fisk and Stokes. Soon after Fisk's murder, she visited Stokes in jail. So before she's arrested, and Stokes told her what to tell his lawyer, Mr. John Townsend. So Mrs. Benton said she would be willing to testify for Stokes, but that her testimony would certainly free him, but she wanted $10,000 for the testimony. So I guess that's why she was arrested, because you can't do that. I don't know.
No, I don't think that. Yeah,
but she
because of that. But she was trying to bribe them. It was more so of a bribe. Yeah, of like bribing, like, hey, you pay me, I'll say pretty much so whatever you want.
Yeah, she was not subpoenaed for the trial because they knew she was full of BS. But
that's fair.
She did tell her friends this statement. So she has this statement. It's kind of long, but here is her story. She'd been visiting a friend at the Grand Hotel a half hour before the commission of the murder. I love how they speak. Happening accidentally to look out of the parlor window, she saw on the opposite side of the way Edward Stokes. She had beckoned to him, and he crossed Broadway and entered the hotel. He had then come up to the parlor and conversed with her for over 15 minutes. She had then left him in the parlor and descended the ladies' stairway and was just going out of the street door, and Fisk's carriage drove up. Fisk leaped out of his carriage and met her on the sidewalk, talked with her then in front of the hotel for a few moments. Fisk then entered the hotel and she started to walk up Broadway. She had only walked a few feet when she heard the report of a pistol and saw a boy run out of the hotel in evident fright. She went back to the ladies' entrance and had again entered the hotel when, looking up the stairway, she saw 2 men carrying Fisks up the stairs. She was then going up the stairs and she found on one of the lower steps a revolver, and from its position, thought it must have belonged to Fisk. She had concealed the revolver and had gone up the stairs to her friend's room. That friend had persuaded her not to reveal her finding of the pistol, and she'd consented to suppress her discovery. Since the day of the murder, she had not said anything to the authority concerning Fisk's revolver, fearing it might injure the chance of Stokes' acquittal. Which doesn't make any sense, because if Fisk had a revolver and drew it on Stokes, then it's self-defense. So that doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Okay. So let's get on the trial.
That like kind of made my brain hurt.
So the
I'm like,
trial.
wait, what?
I know. What? Wait, what? Okay. This amusing description of the trial was that old men, young men, middle-aged men, boys and youths, gray-haired women, fat, fair, and 40, and girls, both good-looking and ugly, went to make up a concourse that only a murder trial that won a cause célèbre could bring together.
I love the way that they talk. It's so just like classy and I don't know,
Fat, fair,
proper.
and 40. I love that line.
Right? Like
Okay.
that's just crazy. You could not say that about somebody nowadays. Like,
No.
oh my
Like,
lordy.
everybody gets offended by everything anymore.
Everything.
Okay. August Schimmel, the brother-in-law of Mrs. Morse, remember her? She was the one that Fisk was wanting to see.
Mm-hmm.
He was an employee of the Erie Railroad, the one that Fisk oversaw or was the president of or something. He testified that he never saw a pistol with Fisk. He saw Fisk put his coat on that morning, January 6th, but did not see any pistol with him. So he had his coat on at work, but he didn't carry a gun in his uniform. He just had his uniform coat on. The Morse family had 3 rooms at the Grand Central Hotel, and one of them was a bedroom. Mrs. Morse testified when questioned by the attorney about her relationship with Fisk. She would not admit a romantic one, but apparently they slept together on a regular basis. She goes, yes, I slept with him there. I used to sleep with him on and off. And when he was sick, I would stay up there with him. I saw him on Christmas Day. He was up and dressed. I called that being out. I knew he did business in his office every day from the 1st to the 6th of January. When questioned about the gun, she said, I never examined them, meaning his clothes, for a pistol pocket because a lot of the uniforms had a pocket that you could take your pistol out of. Professor James Woods, which was one of the physicians who attended Fisk while he was dying, was the next witness called, and he said, I arrived there about 5:45. I saw Fisk and advised that opium be administered. I saw him again at 11 and thought he was better. I saw him at 8 o'clock the next morning. He was unconscious from the effects of opium, and then he died from the shock of being shot, obviously. Like, there's no mention of him ever going to a hospital and being treated for gunshot wounds. And like,
But I mean, when was this again?
it was like 1870s. So I guess they just didn't.
They probably didn't even have really hospitals then, did they?
Well, yeah, because remember we had the Confederate War.
Oh yeah.
So they had hospitals, but most of it was just amputation. I mean, it wasn't
Nothing like we have now to where, I mean, I guess I could see that because I think back to the old West days that they would just throw you in a room and keep you comfortable and
you would die.
depending on like where the bullet, the thing was that maybe they could dig it out or something, but 9 chances out of 10 you're going to be unalived.
Yeah, the physician described the course that the bullet took, and he said apparently he was gut shot. Like, one of them entered his gut, and there's like no surviving that. I mean, even today, there's very few people that can survive a gut shot. And he said he knew of cases where intestines were cut from a gunshot wound and patients recovered, but it didn't happen often. So when asked where the bullet stopped, the doctor stood up and he pointed his finger to the middle of his thigh and said, about here. So apparently, I mean, he was shot and went through, like, an arm into his thigh, and then the other one was into his gut. Anyway, when asked if this could have been made of Stokes if Fisk and Stokes were facing each other, the doctor said, I cannot conceive how it could have been made on the right side of Mr. Fisk. So apparently Stokes is right-handed, they're facing each other, and the bullet went into the right side, but at a weird angle. So which is interesting that back in 1870, they were already trying to figure that out. Angles. Yeah. But he said, so it sounded like Fisk was trying to maybe retreat when he was shot. So that blows self-defense out of the water again.
Yeah.
Bird Spencer, who's an assistant treasurer of the Erie Railway, testified that he attended Fisk every day. Apparently, like, his employees just really liked him. And he was one of the captains of the 9th Regiment. And he said he never saw Fisk have a pistol. And he was with him the day of a July riot that had happened and offered him a pistol that day. And he refused it. Like, he would not carry a weapon. So he was well thought of by the guys that he worked with and the guys in the military, but he never wanted to carry a weapon. So that kind of blows out of the water. Mrs. What's her name?
Minnie.
Yeah,
Mrs. Benton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, old Winnie. So Mr. Vennett, a tailor who had a store in the hotel, he ran around on hearing the shots and saw Fisk at the foot of the stairs and heard him make an exclamation. He was called to prove what declarations Fisk made. The witness was asked by where Fisk was when he saw him, and he said between the door and the foot of the stairs, which is different than what the porter said. The porter said he made it all the way up the stairs, but I wonder if he had turned around and retreated when he got shot. So I wonder, was he shot in the back on the right side and it entered into his thigh?
That would almost make more sense.
It would. It would.
Yeah.
He said he saw him between the door and the foot of the stairs. Fisk appeared to have gone to the door and turned back to maybe go up the stairs. He appeared in great agony. He was bent and had both hands on his abdomen. So Thomas Smith, a bookkeeper for the Guardian Life Insurance Company, was called to the stand. He testified that on January 6th, I passed the Grand Central Hotel, saw Colonel Fisk drive up. I was opposite of the main entrance of the Grand Central Hotel. I saw him get out of the carriage, go into the ladies' entrance, started and walked 10 feet when I heard a noise. I went back, I looked into the entrance and saw Fisk pressing his abdomen with his hands. I did not see any women in there at the time. He went on to testify that he saw a boy come out immediately and the outer door was closed. And then a crowd started rushing towards the hotel, which is, again, wild. Everybody's hearing gunshots and people start rushing towards the noise, which is not what happens now.
No.
For good reason.
But back then you got to think that, like, maybe it was like, oh, there's like a shootout, an exciting, like, you know.
I guess. Like, what happened? You know, and they're all like cats in a window.
Because now, like, everything we have at the palm of our hands, to where, I mean, it's amazing how desensitized these kids are to, like, school things that happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually really heartbreaking to me. So back then, I guess I could see that, like, oh, something's going down. Let's go see the new.
It's crazy. So Stokes ended up taking the stand, and he said the following. This is a statement. It's verbatim out of the newspaper. So I guess it's verbatim. So, while passing the Grand Central Hotel, I saw a lady in the window of parlor 207, and thinking I recognized her as a lady I had seen in Saratoga, I lifted my hat, finished my conversation with Mr. Bailey, and asked him to come into the hotel. That I wouldn't delay long, but he declined. I went in by the private stairs up to the second floor, where I had never been before. He says that, which I'm like, yeah, I bet you have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looked into the parlor and saw that I didn't know the lady. Remember, the other lady said she knew him and she beckoned him, but she was the one who was blackmailing him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So I saw that I did not know the lady. Not to appear rude, I passed on, turned back, and looked in a second time. The lady came out and went up to the third floor. I went back to the lady's stairs. I had on an overcoat, a heavy white Irish frieze coat, also dogskin gloves, lined with wool, and I carried a cane. I mean, he sounds dapper. I'm sorry, he does. Like, he's a stud. I had no expectation of meeting Fisk, nor suspicion of his coming. Did not go into any room, nor look out to see if he was coming. Had my pistol and always carried it in an outer pocket when I had on my overcoat. As I was going down the stairs, Fisk came up with a rush and had a pistol in both hands. Cocking it, saw him coming through the outer door, but did not know him as it was pretty dark. So he saw a figure coming up, right? Until he came to the second door, and then I knew him instantly. I did not turn back, for I had not a chance, but cried, "Don't fire!" and jumped from the right to the left side, nearly falling on the banister. And instead of leaning on the banister with my left, I fired 2 shots with my gloved hand and dropped my pistol. I believed that my life was in danger. Knew it was. I had no intention of taking a life. Then I went into the private entrance, saw the boy Redmond, and did not see Thomas Hart there at all. The only person around when I went back upstairs was Mr. Hill, and Hart's evidence is all manufactured and concocted. My reason for going back on the stairs was to get out of the line of fire of pistol. I saw it quite plainly. My reason for going to number 207 was that I thought it a continuation of the hall. I told Mr. Hill that a man is shot. The next person I met was the French parlor man who was witness for me at the first trial. So he had a first trial, but it was a mistrial. Trial. When questioned about owning a pistol, Stokes admitted he enjoyed shooting and had practiced with it. Stokes was adamant in all of the trials. He ended up going through 3 trials, by the way, that Fisk drew first. But there were eyewitnesses, the porter who saw the whole thing, and he said he never saw Fisk draw a gun. Stokes went through 3 trials, the first being stopped by a hung jury. The second, he was found guilty of first-degree murder, but his attorneys were successful in having the conviction overturned, and a new trial was ordered. On the third trial, he was convicted in the murder of the first degree of James Fisk and was sentenced to be hanged February 28th. There were newspaper accounts where people were questioning his sentence and thought he didn't deserve to be hanged. And it's really possible that his looks had something to do with it, because people were talking about what a beautiful man he was and that he didn't deserve to be hanged. Like they didn't want a mark on his body. It's weird if you go back.
So because he was a beautiful looking man, we can't hang him.
Yeah. Okay. Written in the paper a few days before his hanging, Edward Stokes, with little thought when he commenced life with such bright hopes, when he was in the full tide of business prosperity and crossing the ocean so frequently to carry out his plans, or when he occupied those magnificent rooms at the Hoffman House with his beautiful wife and child, that he should be confined in a felon's cell and only to come out to meet a felon's death. It must seem to the doomed man like a terrible dream, in which low, depraved, and vicious are acting their parts, and that it cannot be one whose young years gave so many indications of hope and promise. But unless the machinations of the lawyers succeed in staying the proceedings, or executive clemency interposes, of which there seems to be little hope, his closing part in this strange tragedy will be reenacted on the last day of the coming month. Okay, that said, he wasn't hanged, and he ends up serving only 4 years. He was released from prison October 1876 and later became the proprietor of the Hoffman House Hotel. He died in New York City on November 2nd, 1901 at the age of 60. And I have a picture, an artist's sketch of him. Isn't that crazy?
Like, wow. The world was so different back then. Like,
so here he is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say he was just this absolutely beautiful man, but
who knows? I know I kept looking at this going, well, is this because our perception of beauty is different? I mean, I don't know.
I don't swing for that team, so that doesn't help.
That's true. Oh my God, I forgot. Yeah. but that's
sorry, people. Sorry, everyone.
But I'm thinking, okay, so Johnny Depp, like if he was a Johnny Depp.
Okay. Okay. Johnny Depp, like that. There's my line though. Like Johnny Depp is a very, very good looking man. Maybe it is like his personality and the way he can shift gears in every role he plays. But that is one man that, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking like he was the Johnny Depp of his time. Like the women just swooned, and his charisma is what, I mean, he did 4 years. for shooting a man in cold blood.
Personality has a lot to do with it because you could be the most beautiful, like I've always said, you could be the most beautiful woman on the earth and ruin it within 2 seconds of opening your mouth.
Oh, God, yes. Yes.
I mean, and it truly does ruin your beauty.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could see that if his like charisma and just the way he carried himself, maybe he was like this very just jaw-dropping gentleman to look at, to where because of that, by all means, we can't hang him. But now if he was a lowborn that just looked like an elf or something, then by all means hang him. Like,
no, he would have been swinging.
Just the swinging.
I know.
Oh, that's great.
Guy, I mean, so he goes in, he gets in the affair with this really hot woman. No mention of what happened to his marriage. I'm assuming that she left him over all of this.
I would hope so. Gets
embroiled in all of these lawsuits, gets indicted. No mention about whatever happened with the lawsuit either.
No.
Gets indicted, kills the guy that he's feuding with, does 4 years, and ends up like in the lap of luxury, managing this beautiful hotel that he used to live in with his wife while he was having the affair with Josephine. So weird. So weird. Anyway.
I mean, for anyone out there, don't get involved in a love triangle.
Don't.
You just don't want to.
Good for anybody.
You just don't.
No. Anyway, I was so, because, when I research these cases, I'll find a good case, and then I clip all of the newspaper articles that I find, and then I put them together chronologically, and then I start reading them, right? And I was so surprised to get to the very last. I'm like, what? 4 years? I was outraged.
Because like nowadays it would not happen that way.
No.
I mean, they definitely wouldn't just like plan on hanging them a month later. Because I mean, you sit on death row for years, right. And most of them are a waste of space that don't need to be on death row. But
right.
It's amazing how that's why I think I love these old stories. Just like how far things have changed. One, just the language alone, or the English of how they wrote or spoke back then compared to how it is now. It's very trashy, and I don't know, it's just different now. And just how different the justice system was, everything.
Right.
I love the old stories, but I think we're old souls deep down that, I don't know.
Yeah, I do too. And it kind of reminds me, some of the prose in the newspapers is very much Samuel Clemens type. It's almost this beautiful, like rolling prose, and it just captures the moment. And we've lost that now. I used to love anything Samuel Clemens wrote was just so amazing to me. So,
and I agree with you on that, because I jump in and I read the old newspapers and I love it because one, they just speak what happened. It did not matter. There was no filter. There was no worrying about offending anybody. Nope. Granted, I don't think offense was a thing back then.
Nope.
I don't know. It's really sad where our world's at. But it was beautiful. Like, and it would capture the attention. And maybe they had to write it that way to get the papers to sell.
Well, I think, remember, there was no TV. There's a little, was radio. When did radio come along?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I think they wrote like that because that was the only way to describe a scene, because they didn't have any other way to communicate. It was all newspaper.
It was 1890.
Oh, so yeah, it was before radio. So
yeah.
So I mean, you had to write to describe the moment, the scene, to capture your audience, and they did a beautiful job.
Yeah.
The very first case we did, if you go back and you watch our very first case, the description of the hanging was brutal. It was brutal. It's
so awesome, though.
I know, the meadow and the trees and the just the mud. How they captured the scene of the hanging. You were there. You were in the scene, and you're like, oh my God. Reading that, I was just so like, oh, it was crazy. So yeah.
And so that makes sense, though, because they're designing, like, they're letting you picture all of it. So no matter where you're at and you're reading it, you could picture exactly what was going on, which is super awesome, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I like this story. I was so shocked at the end. I was just like furious. But anyway, let us know in the comment if you like it. Please subscribe to the
Yes.
show, share the show. We just started this. I don't know how many episodes we have out, but we're just getting some traction. So that'd be great if you could like, share, and
Yes.
subscribe, and share the show. Tell your friends about it. Our other show, we do Wednesday nights at 7 with Pocatello Paranormal. We do our live psychic show. So that's coming up tonight at 7 on Pocatello Paranormal Research. And then Thursday nights at 7, Pocatello Paranormal Research does our live paranormal show. So we have a lot of stuff going on. And I have a new farm show channel called Irish Hill Farm. And it's just shorts of the funny farm animals that I have. And so if you have kids,
You do
and
have
love
funny farm
animals,
animals.
they're all family friendly shorts of the critters. And so there's nothing on there that's dark and nasty and terrible. It's just critters, and it's just shorts that I do. And there may be some horse training stuff later, but anyway, it's just fun. Anyway, so that's Irish Hill Farm. And that's it. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.